Okay, so we'll just start off by kind of giving you guys a heads up. If you're here, you're definitely looking into StreetText, and StreetText is a Facebook lead generation solution. From top to bottom, it's not just that we help you set up and generate ads that go after sellers and buyers and listings. We can also customize different ads out there, but it's full on. It's got automations behind it, email drip, SMS. It's got a phenomenal coaching and community part of it with lots of training. Because ultimately, the key is what you'll find when we get into your demo is that everybody can tap into Facebook's algorithm. It's knowing how to do it. It's really knowing how to do it. The seller funnel template that we have, for example, or the seller ad creation that we use, it's got a 60% click to contact ratio. And I have 2 of them right now with tens of thousands of people testing it on a monthly basis and delivering those stats. This is not just like a one-off, hey, 3 or 4 people have tested it, 60%. No, this is across North America, Canada, US wide. So what that means, to keep it like really simple for you, that 6 out of every 10 clicks should become some sort of submission. And we actually classify a submission on the seller funnel as we do it dynamically. And you're going to see it starting with an address, and then it kind of goes in deeper, an email that has to be given permission to be contacted, and then more information about their home, time frame for selling, and then you go deeper into this funnel, and that's where they deliver their name and phone number. So it's not like a typical Facebook lead ad. Has anybody ever run some Facebook ads before, by show of hands? Or how do you like that Facebook ads manager? Do you like it, or do you kind of consider? Yeah, I don't like it very much either.
I kind of hate it.
It's pretty confusing. A lot of us we like to joke around, call it the labyrinth of confusion out here, because it really is. They keep on changing things. Their algorithm's always shifting. You never know if you tap into it right, or if if you get lucky, but then if you try to duplicate that again and you run into some issues. The thing to know is that everybody in the US and now even in Canada have to work within the Housing Discriminatory Act in real estate. And that means 15 miles, 24 kilometers for you Canadians, of radius in terms of your targeting. So you have to automatically shift your mind now to become that person. I get it. But no, there's no buts here. You just refer out if you're not going to willing to work those leads, because if you're going to tap into Facebook, you have to tap into it with the 15-mile minimum radius. So you can hack it a little bit depending on where you are. Next to the water and the ocean, you can move this 15 miles into the water a little bit, next to the mountains and so forth, and we'll show you how to do that. But it's really understanding that and then adjusting your ad image and your copy, which is the text on it, to adjust for that. And we're going to show you how to do that. And then really, the key is it's your brand, right? So you're going to be leveraging your Facebook business page and you're paying Facebook, because this trial, by the way, is free, but running ads is not. Advertising on Facebook is not free. You have to pay them. They're going to take your money no matter what you do. So if you're going to do it right, and acknowledge, hey, if I'm going to spend whatever money with Facebook, let's make sure that we can measure that. And it's not just for the branding. Like, who cares? You can brand all day. It's measuring it on a cost per lead basis. And so we want to make sure that every dollar you spend, it goes as effective as possible. And then really the translation from there, in my mind, is then, okay, if I can generate clicks that produce addresses, in some cases, an address for some people is like, that's a waste of my time. If I only get an address, I don't want to work it. I'm like, that's another person's gold, and I'll tell you how. An email. What if you have only an address and email? What do you do with that? You ever heard about video email? Anybody? Yes. You're face-to-face with them. Immediately, you put your email in there and you can do that. It's called, there's a lot of systems out there, but that's going to be key for you to kind of recognize at the top of funnel. They haven't met you before. So that's your opportunity. It's like you're digitally door knocking, right? Knock, knock, who's there? I'm not going to be a piece of mail on the ground and doorbell, remember the days of doorbell ditching? That's what you are if you have a regular automatic email without you in it. And then the more information you pull, information about their home, let's say they give you some sort of time frame. And then if you have a name and phone number collected, that's where it obviously becomes a little bit more fun. But now it's the key with StreetText is knowing that you have an AI Everybody knows what an AI is? It's called an text responder, automatic text responder that you have to activate. And it's just gonna be by finding a local number area code. Once you activate that, you have this assistant, we call her Julie. And I don't recommend changing it unless your name is Julie, because Julie seems to get more replies than any of your guys' names out there. Trust me. I don't know why, she just does well. And she gets replies, and there's an automatic text sequence that's set up for you. And it's a 5-message text sequence throughout the week. And actually you can change those. You can customize those. You can turn things on and off. And I actually suggest you do. Once you work with your coach, you brand it, right? And so it all becomes about who they get to experience. And so in my mind, really, it's twofold. We teach you how to generate leads and really tap into the Facebook side. But remember, once they click on that, now it's about how do you narrate the experience you want them to have? And that's all about you, you know? It's all about how you present yourself as being authentic and genuine and a go-giver and somebody who's going to be a resource for them, and not, you know, as soon as they feel like you're just trying to sell them and list their home, they're gone. So you don't want anything in there to feel like that. Because remember, first of all, and then we're going to get into the dashboard shortly, remember where you're working on Facebook. You're not working with, you know, if you guys use Zillow or Trulia or Realtor or Redfin or, you know, Google even, people are actively searching for real estate, right? No one's searching on Facebook for you. Think about, you know, every one of you can pull out your phone right now and click on your Facebook app. And what's the first thing you do? Just start scrolling mindlessly down the feed, right? That is where the ad is placed. That is where the ad is placed. It's called interruption-based marketing. All you're looking for is a click, and in case a call to action. The call to action that we use basically for your trial to start is, if someone were to buy your home, would you sell it? Find its value in the current market. So what do they want? Their home value. But the buyer is no different. So at the end of the day, you're going to give them that, but it's how you present that, and it's the questions you ask to get them to start talking to you. Because it's not about, hey, let me come on over and list your home. It's about positioning yourself as opposed to an algorithm, the internet's best guess, and we're going to show you some good things to do that, but you need to be there to do it. Okay, we're going to get into it. So who wants to be, anybody have a trial account set up, preferably on camera, and is willing to let us use your dashboard and your account to kind of show everybody? Who wants to be that person? First one to raise their hand. Oh, John. It's John Stringfellow. It's a good name, John Stringfellow. Okay, let me find you there, John. Okay, Ira is your coach, John. Just so you know, he'll be in contact with you. He's got a little bit of a toothache right now, so he's not here. But you're going to be learning from all of us. Okay, so let me get into your dashboard and kind of show you what's going on here. So what I'm going to show you guys is essentially what you'll all have access to. So if you don't have a dashboard, you essentially don't have a trial. And so just go to StreetText.com and activate it. And the key is acknowledging kind of all the moving parts. So when you enter into this dashboard, like John, you feel free to unmute yourself, by the way, John, because I will be asking you some questions. What you kind of want to go into and look at is, you know, welcome, start here, getting started. Obviously want to know how to use StreetText, book a demo, you're here. Ads running, you know, right now you have 3 ads, and we'll talk about that shortly. Activate your auto text responder, which you have, which is a good job. And for those that, you know, going back to the dashboard, if you haven't activated it, it'll kind of prompt you to set up your own local number. Just remember, if you've activated, you'll see something like this, and we'll talk about that shortly. And then lastly, one thing I wanted to kind of acknowledge is that in this little settings tool, just get familiar with it, because you're going to be updating your profile information. This is where your Facebook page is. And a couple of things I want everybody to do is put in a slogan, because that's your marketing tagline. That's going to be shown to the leads as they put in their information. And I'll, you know, for John, I'll let you update this, but for now, just put your friendly neighborhood expert, just so you can see why to do it. And then also the website, whether it's your Facebook business page or your website, put that in, because ultimately that's your email signature tag, right? That's going to be in part of that, and we'll show you how to update that as well. Another thing I want to acknowledge is your Facebook page is here. If you go to your Facebook page, there is a little button called reviews. And if you do have any, and unfortunately we can't pull them in from any other third party that you have, but they'll be, the Facebook reviews will be in there. If you do have some, check, because you can make them favorite and they'll pull in front of your leads. So it's just a great credibility thing to have. Okay, where are your ads sitting? Your ads are sitting in a place called ads, obviously. And when you look at your ads, you know, I can see you just set up a couple ads there. Brewster, and, you know, looking for a home in Brewster under 500K, and then another Brewster one. Now, one thing that I want to acknowledge, and I can tell these are just fairly recent that you've created, so I might not be able to see it. Maybe I will. Okay, I will. Good job. Okay. So John, are you able to unmute yourself there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. So John, Brewster, where's Brewster at?
Cape Cod.
Cape Cod. Okay. So one of the things you got to think about in that area is, you know, 15 miles in and around Brewster. So it actually would serve you best to actually remove Brewster out of the ad text copy. And, you know, for now, what I'll do is I'll just pause these ads for you and we'll remake some new ones. So anytime you're like, oh man, I didn't do it right. It's easy. You just go to your ad section and you pause it. You pause it from green to off, green to gray. Okay. And I'll explain to you why. You can do that now with the buyer ad. We'll talk a little bit more about. I'll leave that on because it seems like to be an okay one. But you know, time will tell. But for everybody to kind of acknowledge the template we're using here, it's a map. Okay, it's a generic map. In this case, a Google map. And the beauty behind the map is that you guys use it almost daily when you're driving and navigating places. And so does everybody else in your world. So the map, you know, whether we pull it out on our phone and we're just navigating blindly, it just is familiar. It's easy. It doesn't reek of the typical real estate language, you know, that everybody sees, and which is why it's got such a phenomenal click to contact ratio. So check this out. If I click on this particular ad, notice the congruency. So remember, you're seeing this from a desktop perspective. Most people are doing this from their phones. So when you're scrolling down your feed, it's disguised in all your friends' updates and so forth. It's called a sponsored ad. The sponsored ad is going out into the news feed of your prospective buyers and sellers, and they're scrolling down and you're interrupting their news feed with something like this. So in this case, you know, most people are just like, oh, you know, that's the general vicinity that I live in. And they're really drawn basically below that map to find the value of the home. And in that moment, that click becomes a conscious decision to start putting in information. So it's really important to analyze the ad image you're using to reflect the 15 miles, and we're going to talk about how to do that. But let's go through this really quickly as if we were the homeowner putting in our own details, so you know exactly what's happening from every submission and along the way. Because what you need to know about a dynamic lead capture funnel is that there are going to be people that start just like this and submit their information. And let's say they go and put in an address, right? It's kind of easily pulling in here. I'll use my childhood address from living in the Bay Area of California. I'll click Analyze My Property. Now, that moment I submit my property address, what you guys need to know is happening is that in your contact section of your dashboard, there is a address only section. Here's the address only. So you can see that I just came in there, right? And if I submit any more information, I'll become a contact and it'll turn blue, but you want to know that you have addresses as well. So a gray little contact, you can save them as contacts as well, because a lot of people will turn these into gold, and we'll talk to you about how to do that. But don't dismiss the address only. There's a lot of phenomenal things that we can do with you to show you how to turn those into leads. Now, going back into the funnel, this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because the next part of the funnel and the second most frequent piece of information you're going to receive, actually what we find in this type of funnel is about 1 in 3 addresses become an email, just so you can kind of think about it. As soon as I put my email in, I don't necessarily get to move forward as a homeowner. I have to give you, the realtor, permission to contact me by email. So there in itself is where kind of the rubber hits the road here on this funnel. And if they give you email permission, that ultimately is the key there, because if you really understand this concept and drive this home, that's your opportunity to connect with them. Because what's going to happen is that there is an automatic email drip campaign that's set up for you in your funnel settings. You can review them all, but it's a 9-month-long drip campaign, starting with this very first email that's being sent out. And it's very generic until you get in there and customize it. So what is going to come into my email, and I just got it from you, John, is basically a generic email that looks like this. You know, hey, I received your Facebook request for the little home emoji in the subject line. It does get good opens for 133 Glenridge, and I'm on it. So that's the subject line. Basically, it's just saying, hi, I just want to let you know that I've received your Facebook request for the property valuation of, pulls in the address, and I'm on it. Are there any updates or renovations that I should be aware of? You know, there's your name, John, and phone number, right? So what would we want to do here? Well, what our best clients are doing is something that looks and feels like this.
Yeah.
Get it?
Get it. Yep.
Everybody see it? For those that are on camera, you kind of see this. You know, don't worry about what to say. We'll help you with that. But keep it short, sweet, and, you know, basically just say hi, you know, because that's the key. You're humanizing this process and letting them know how, you know, how you're going to connect with them. And that's the key. That's the branding part of it. That's your personality. That's body language right there without even clicking on this video. If you guys study psychology, more than 90% of communication comes down to body language and tonality, right? And we're getting a big part of Wendy right here just by looking at her and seeing that she's smiling and waving. You know, that in many ways is your first impression, and could be your last impression if you don't have a good opportunity to connect with someone. So let's really think about that and meditate on that, because that's going to be key for you if you're really wanting to tap into the top of the funnel, which is someone that you've never met before, most likely. Now, going back deep into the funnel, this is where, you know, you start pulling more information about the home. So if they get to this part of the funnel, which is, you know, address, email, third sequence of the capture would be telling us about the property condition, right? Needs a bit of work, needs a lot of work. What else? Age, updates, renovations. You know, perhaps they go, hey, 10 years old, updated, our kitchen, right? Hopefully they can spell, unlike me. And then when you go into the sell date, this is where you're learning a little bit more about their, you know, hey, is they looking to sell immediately, 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6+ months? Perhaps they're just curious. And I'm going to guarantee you that most people who say they're just curious, that's just naturally a defense mechanism, because they don't want to get solicited and inundated with calls and all that good stuff, right? Everybody doesn't want to tell you right off the bat because they don't know who you are and where this is coming from. Because guess what? Not until I really go into here that I understand, like, and for you, John, I see your brand here, you know, but I don't see you.
Yeah.
Not yet, right? So I still don't know and make the connection from the ad itself into the capture. And there's no connection into me. You know, I probably in my mind as a homeowner on Facebook, I'm thinking I'm getting an automated CMA or something, right? That's what most people, you always got to think of it from their perspective. Because again, you interrupted my newsfeed with an ad. I want to know the value of my home. What makes me want to talk to anybody about this? Not until I can feel like I can connect with them. It's an authentic connection. And it's someone who's actually very, you know, they're generous, focused, authentic about giving me the best value possible, and something that is accurate and true, and not something that would be just a fake, you know, Zillow, Truly, or Realtor, Redfin type of, you know, home value that they could go look at themselves if they wanted to. So I think it's a lot of that is learning the right scripts here. Now, when I put in my phone number, this is what's basically activating the SMS component that you would have. So in about 3 minutes, I would be getting a text message, and we'll work with you on that. But essentially, if you go to your settings and you go to this all automations button down here on the bottom, and if you click edit in that home evaluation automation, it's going to show you the entire sequence of both emails and SMSs, of which this is a good section to see anyways, because you can change everything in here. You can actually go in here and change the time frame it's being sent in. You can go in here and literally start clicking on every email and start reviewing what they are. Like, for example, being that I'm a BombBomb user myself, if I want to go in here and quickly change this, I could go into my Google Chrome BombBomb extension, and literally drop a copy for email button as fast as this, just like that. That's how fast these things can be edited and changed to reflect, you ultimately. So just know this is kind of where you're going to start editing. You have a coach that will work with you on this. And then as you scroll down, similarly, you're going to want to look at the text messages, because if you're going to start pulling in phone numbers, and usually about 1 in 3 emails on average become a phone number submission, then this is where you want to know what's being sent out and the frequency of what's being sent out, so that you can start thinking about how you would use Julie to role play to get that information back to you, or to take that conversation over, and maybe just to ask questions. And think about it, and the language you use is different from market to market. You know what I mean? Whether you're in Texas or in New York, you might say things a little bit differently than everybody else. So you want to come in here and kind of feel that. And I see a lot of people come in here and customize that to their voice. Okay. And then ultimately get deeper into that. They can even schedule an exact or set an appointment if they wanted to. Okay. So that would be the idea of it. And now the key, and Logan, I know I'm itching to talk about it, is how do you set up these ads to actually tap into this very strong and consistent lead flow? And this is an important piece, because it's something that StreetText has really nailed in. We're a preferred marketing partner with Facebook, so we have a really good understanding of their algorithm. We have tested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ads. I think we got something over 3 million leads in our time since 2015 of working with Facebook. So we know how to do this. The key is not to let Facebook just spend your money without recognizing what you're looking for. And this funnel that you're working out of here, which is basically how you set up your ads, and we're going to show you these numbers. This particular ad, for example, that you're working on the seller side, 22,000 people actively testing this last month alone. The average cost per address was $2.20. The average cost per email was $6.16. Average cost per phone number was $18 for this funnel. And it's different if we're talking about the buyers and listing ads that you have access to in this trial. And then remember, beyond this trial, this is where it gets really fun. We even have better seller funnels right now that are producing really, really well, this one particularly. But there's a lot of different ways to go, but we want to start simple with you. And every one of these has its own automation sequence, which means drip email and SMS. So at the end of the day, Logan, why don't you let us know, how do you set this ad up properly? What are we doing? And then, explain kind of the concept that best taps into Facebook called the split test.
Yeah, certainly. First off, most realtors I find are coming to us looking for additional sellers, especially in this market. That seems to be what everybody's looking for. There's a lot of people taking advantage of rates where they are right now. So there's a lack of listings, I would say. So first things first, what we're going to try to do is capture more sellers, right? So what you're going to want to do first is navigate to the funnels section of your screen. And you're going to pop into the one with the highest click to contact ratio. Marcus, are you going to take us through that real quick? Thank you. Now, what you'll see here is 3 templates at the top under the 7-day trial template screen here. And the one on the far left is the one that's going to be the one we're going to use for the sellers. Obviously, as Marcus already went over, the click to contact ratio is incredibly important. And keep in mind, when you're advertising on Facebook, you're not paying per lead, you're not paying per email, you're not paying per phone number submitted, you're paying for every click. Meaning that if somebody clicks on your ad, leaves you name, number, and email, they're ready to sell tomorrow, great, you paid the cost per click for that opportunity. Somebody else clicks on that exact same ad and leaves you no information, is not willing to sell their home or even talk to you, you paid the exact same amount of money. So what we're trying to do is add that congruency, which you'll see between the ad itself and the landing page. We want to make sure that people can step through gently and leave as much information as they're willing to leave. And again, we're enhancing the likelihood of a click leaving information becoming a contact. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find the one here that's roughly right around a 60% click to contact ratio typically, and we simply hit select. Now, this first screen is going to allow you to build what people see. And again, Marcus went over it already. The map itself is incredibly boring. We're not trying to tell you that it's not, but there's a reason why it works. And we're going to go over that in a quick second here. Now, before I know what I want to show people, I need to know where I'm targeting. So what I typically like to do is skip this first step, hit the next button at the bottom right there, and get into targeting. Now, the first mistake people make when they get into their targeting is in the first field there, if you type in your city name, you are unable to visibly see what your 15-mile targeted radius will look like for 24 kilometers here in Canada. So if you just drop a city name in there again, you can't really see where you're targeting. You just have an idea whereabouts it is. So what I would do instead is drop a pin. Now on this one here, do we know a city name, anything that, sorry, we're in John's account, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, where we can go with a you can use a zip code, you could use a city name. Where would your preference be in terms of setting your targeted area?
02631.
Perfect. Let's have a look at that. And that should come up. Let's see.
Did you say 02631?
02631, yes.
And if
And
it's
that's
not coming up, usually it comes up. But if it doesn't, then we'll just go with a city name instead, if we could, John.
or there's Brewster.
I can't really see it, so small on my little screen here.
There it is. So
Perfect. So what I like to do first is hit that little square at the top right, expand full screen. Again, if we just typed in Brewster, we wouldn't visibly see where we're targeting in total. Now we can see this, and you can decide whether you want to maybe make it a little bit bigger, whether you want to shift it north, west, south, east at all. There's an opportunity here. Most likely you would like to capture the rest of that, peninsula, whatever we want to call that there. Would you like to get the remainder of that little part of the land there, John?
And up, not over. Up to
Perfect. So yeah, what I would probably do in this case, do you go as far as let's see here, the furthest over right now to the west? Are you comfortable that way?
I'm comfortable that way, but the more expensive real estate is north.
Perfect. So we can drag it up like that, but we can also expand it a little bit. You may want to go slightly bigger to capture the entirety of the area there. If that's what you want to do, we close the screen down by hitting the square at the top there. I'd expand you to 20 miles right now.
Okay.
And then you can have a look at this. Now there's some unique hacks, obviously, given that you are in a coastal community. You can drag the majority of your targeted area into the ocean if you like, and only capture the small portion that you'd like. In this case, kind of looking at it, I would suggest that this seems accurate. Does that look perfect? Wonderful. Nailed it, Marcus. So there you go. That's the idea. You just kind of play around with your targeted area until we select exactly where we want to be. Once we're happy with it, we close this screen down. You're going to hit done. It's going to lock in your latitude, longitude under selected targeted area there. So now you know that where is being selected is set. We're going to go back a step now. Now what we're going to do is in this second field, we want to get the area similar to what we put in the first one, right? So we're going to go with Brewster again. We're going to have this set up. Let's go to map. That brightens it up considerably. Now we're going to zoom back until we can showcase that area in a similar fashion. I'd probably drag it over a little bit to the east. Yeah. Now, here's the big idea here. Again, the map image itself is incredibly boring, but what it needs to do is be incredibly recognizable, instantly relevant. So what happens when we see a map image is it's meant to guide us. It speaks to the brain before it speaks to the eyes. Again, the eyes, by the time it have time to look at this and decipher what it's looking at, yeah, again, it's boring. But before the eyes can decide it's a boring image, the brain is telling you to stop and look at it. Our brain is tied and tuned for shortcuts in the world around us, right? So as you're whipping through Facebook, and keep in mind, people didn't log on to Facebook to find you, to find a realtor, to sell their home, any of those reasons. They're simply there killing time oftentimes. So they're whipping through Facebook really quickly. They see an image that is, again, instantly recognizable. Their brain tells them to stop. Great. Now they're looking at this image. Next, what we need to do is drive their eyes automatically from the image itself into the ad copy, and then make sure that when they read that ad copy, it's relevant regardless of where on this map they live. So if we had in the top field where it says city and or neighborhood, if we had Brewster in there, two things are going to happen. First, most likely people aren't going to automatically go from the map up into the copy. And even those that do, there's a high likelihood they're not going to find it as relevant as we'd like. So two birds, one stone. What we're going to do in this one is we're going to remove Brewster. and replace it instead with 3 simple home emojis. And it really doesn't matter your own personal preference as to whether you like emojis or not. Again, I say this all the time. I am not a big fan of emojis in my personal life. My son sends me these hieroglyphic messages all the time trying to get me to decipher what he means. I have no idea what he's talking about, but it doesn't really much matter. It's what works in terms of the marketing, and we'll show you how easy this is. Emojipedia.org. Simply come here and type in home or house and copy the emoji one time. Then you go into the builder again, and I like to paste it in 3 times. Now, when you look at the map itself, watch how different it is. Automatically, there's something in your upper peripheral that draws your eyes upward. And again, when this is big screen on your own computer, you'll notice that it's very noticeable. And all it does, again, brings your eyes up there. You read the ad copy. If someone wanted to buy your home, would you sell it? We're instantly recognizable and relevant to everybody in the area. And it's going to work considerably better, especially once we start discussing the first 500 people that comprise your test audience and split testing. We'll get through that in a quick sec. But this is the easiest way to set up your ad that will work, I would say, more often than not. We hit next. We've already got the target location set, so we're happy there. We can hit next again. In your area there, John, what is the average home selling for? Ballpark.
Well, in that area, it's in the area that we targeted, because it's so broad, it would be probably, because we included Provincetown, which probably pushes it up to 600,000. In Brewster, it's 500,000, but it's probably 600,000 or
okay. Yeah, so that's good. Around that $600,000 mark, I would still recommend a daily budget of $9 a day, depending on how much homes are selling for in your area and competition in said area. You may want to consider increasing your budget. We still recommend $9 a day to start. You may want to, again, start to increase or decrease based on performance in your area, what you're ready to handle. A lot of people do, and they laugh at me when I say this, get ready to be overwhelmed with leads if that happens. Be ready to turn your budget down and work with your coach before you make any adjustments, because there's certain things that you may do that could reset a particular ad's performance. We want you to avoid doing that. But for the case in this one, we're just going to keep $9 as the daily budget. That would be my recommendation. Next, you can choose to run this on Facebook and or Instagram. When we're looking for buyers, especially first-time buyers, Instagram all day long. But when I'm looking for sellers, I stay off Instagram. I want to keep my budget fresh for Facebook. That's the average age in terms of demographic is quite a bit older on Facebook right now, and it continues to age, where Instagram seems to be getting younger and younger all the time. So again, first-time buyers, sure, Instagram. But right now, I would suggest we keep this just on Facebook. Next, the final section is estimated commission value. You can change this one after the ad's created. All this part does is allows our system to send you warnings at different levels based on, again, potential ROI in your area. So I would suggest for you, we bump that one up to say 14.5, 15 grand. I would assume in your area when you sell a home, you're around that 15 grand mark, right?
Yeah.
So we can keep it, we'll put it around there. And again, you can always adjust that if need be. Finally, you hit deploy. What's going to happen is our system's basically going to do a big check of all other ads that have been created from that same template, take everything that everything positive that we've learned, build it into this ad itself. It's creating a landing page, lead extraction funnel. All the leads themselves get dropped into your CRM. Our dashboard will start automatically emailing and sending text messages so long as you have that all set up. And again, it shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 seconds to build everything. So there's no, hey, I need to build an ad and now I need a funnel to go with it. Now I need this. And now it's all done automatically, which is kind of the idea here. And that's really it. You hit finish, you're done, right? Everything's been built for you. And the next item of importance, and this is something that, again, regardless of whether you guys continue using StreetText or not, this is an item of importance that I think that you can kind of stick in your hat, so to speak, and always keep with you. Whenever it's time to build an ad, in my opinion, it's time to build 3 ads. The way I do this, and the reason we do this, is because you have to understand how Facebook is predicting the success of your ad and choosing to continue, how Facebook's going to make their money off the ad realistically. So let's say, for instance, every time you run an ad, Facebook will rely on 500 random people to tell them how good it is. if you're not getting much activity, if you don't get many clicks, Facebook says, okay, this is going to be a slow ad. They've got it set at $9 a day, and I'm only getting 2 clicks really, a day by my forecast. Well, you're going to have to pay $4.50 a click, really, right? They're going to always be maximizing how they can make their money. And by they, I mean Facebook, right? How can Facebook make their money? So $9 a day, if they can calculate, you're going to average 2 clicks a day, you're going to pay $4.50 a click. That's just how it works. So what we like to do is whenever you build one ad, you build 3, because every ad will then be shown to a different test audience. 3 exactly identical ads, 3 completely unique test audiences, right? So even though the ads are the same, the people who dictate their success will always be unique. So when you go to build 1, build 3. 24 hours is more than enough time to reach your first 500. So again, 3 ads, 24 hours. Pick your winner the next day. Once you have your winning ad, you realistically should be able to set it and forget it for quite some time. Typically, we say weeks, if not months at a time, before you need to make any adjustments. Further to that, I've seen good ads fall off a cliff and die sometimes. It happens. I've never, however, seen a bad ad suddenly take off and be good. Right? So if you're spending money on an ad, let's say you've spent your first $9 and you brought in 1 address and no emails, well, that's not a good ad. And that ad will never just automatically start firing and bring in what you're looking for. So Marcus and I will even say the same thing. And this is why you're leaning on your coach is good. We've even seen it by $3, $4, $5 of ad spend. Sometimes I'm ready to jump the gun and say, okay, well, let's get rid of this ad, especially if we see one of the other 3 ads already bringing in emails and phone numbers and addresses. Why continue your split test? If you found one that's working, that's what we're looking to do. We'll advise you to turn 2 of those off. Again, you're then locked in with 1 ad. We would then call that your anchor ad, which hopefully you're happy with moving forward. First off is the ad metrics. Statistically speaking, are we getting cost-effective leads? Great. Secondly, are the leads the kind of leads you're looking for? Because while Facebook's first test audience will help you, discover the statistics, they're also going to be setting your lookalike audience moving forward. The people who've taken positive action on an ad tell Facebook which profile types to keep finding and showing your ad to. So if you're not satisfied with the statistics, or if you're not satisfied with the leads within the first day or so, you're not going to be satisfied long term. So that's the idea. We want to help you find that and help you find it right away.
Awesome.
Any questions on any of that stuff?
Yeah, Ethan just asked, how do we set up the 3 ads? And you have a coach. So Logan, myself, or Ira will be in touch with you. If we haven't already been, just text the last person you got a text from, and just say, hey, help me set up the split test. And we'll get that set up for you before the weekend. I mean, it's a great time to be testing it out over the weekend for sure.
You can check your
I have a
emails too.
question.
Yep, go ahead.
So I created one yesterday and I got 1 seller lead overnight. So should I let it run?
Well, reach out to your coach and he'll take a look at it and give you a quick review on the ad performance so far, because we're looking for essentially how much has been spent so far, because you can see that in the ad section, what your cost per click is, what your cost per lead is, and what your cost per email is. And those are the numbers that we'll be analyzing with you and help you getting really savvy at understanding, hey, if the average address is $2, the average email is $6, let's try to find at least an email within the first $10 of ad spend. If you're spending more than that, chances are it's not the best ad. We might want to pause it and do another test, or it could be that you're just in a very competitive market. Like if you're doing some ads, like for example in Beverly Hills, you're not going to be spending the same cost per lead as somebody in Fargo, North Dakota, right? It's 2 different unique markets. So you got to remember, when you're running Facebook advertising, you're competing against everybody on the ad world. It's an auction. You're running against, everybody doing their Black Friday specials right now, big retailers, everybody. It's Facebook advertising. So essentially, you gotta really look closely onto who's seeing this and how the ad's performing really closely in the first 24 hours, which is why we like to set up a split test, because every time you run a new ad, you're really testing out a new audience. 15 miles is massive. In many ways, it's like, in some of your markets, that's millions of people. I mean, if not hundreds of thousands. You can't honestly think that the first 500 people reach is going to represent that target market even closely. So we got to make sure we're sampling as many audiences as possible to find the best audience for you.
How do I know who my coach is?
Just text the last person who texted you.
Yeah, or check your email. We all have automations the same way we get everybody else to set things up. The way that mine work are my automations fire until people respond to them, and then you don't get another automated message from me again. You'll be talking to me personally once you respond to any of the automated messages. But my system sends out emails, and then yeah, you'll just respond to mine. And so I know we all have something similar, but you'll all definitely be receiving some form of communication, whether it be Facebook, text message, or email. So check your preferred method of contact, and most likely there's something in there.
Yeah, and Ethan, Ira will be back around today, so just text him, he'll get back to you. And then Melissa, as far as your ads running and you can't keep up with all the emails, that's a good thing. What all you're gonna do is you're gonna go to your ad section for now and just pause at least 2 of those. You know, analyze them all, look for your lowest cost per lead. Here's another thing to look at. If you're trying to figure out, if you have a bunch of ads that are working well, don't just assume it's the one with the lowest cost per lead. That'd be the wrong assumption. Because here's the thing, when you start going into your contacts and you've got 3 different ads, every one of those contacts that come in have a unique ad ID. So what that means to you is if you have 3 ads, every one of those contacts are going to show you which ad it's coming from. So it's not always the one with the most contacts. Sometimes it's the one in the areas you prefer with the most information, right? So that's, you know, you might be saying, you know what, I only got a couple contacts this one, the other ad I have 4, but these 2 contacts have given me phone number and they're in an area that are higher and neighborhoods that I want to sell in. So don't always assume it's the ad with the lowest cost per lead either. That's where obviously having a coach and recognizing that every contact that comes in has the ad ID next to it. So you can review which ad it is, and then your coach will help you kind of break down those stats again.
So I'm in a 65% vacation home market, and I went into the Facebook ad and noticed that it's targeting people who live here. Most people who live here cannot own homes here. Like most people who lived here, we're a ski resort town, are like the lifties and our service area workers. So I want to be targeting people who don't live here normally. Is that something I can do through StreetText, or do I always need to go into Facebook to change that?
There's a couple different things. First off, Facebook will know where people live and where they
Right.
are. There is a difference. So Facebook's gotten a little bit smarter with resort style areas and can start finding people even if they're absentee owners, so to speak. But what we'd probably recommend you do is, do you know, I guess, where a lot of your absentee owners actually live?
It's all across the
It's all
county.
across?
Most neighborhoods are about 2/3 absentee.
Okay, there's definitely ways to do this. The way I would typically recommend doing it is trying to find the centers where you think most likely they live. Like where we are, there's 2 big cities. They're a decent ways away, but I know that
Our whole MLS is only like 20 square miles. So like the 15-mile radius covers everything.
right.
So I
And what you
can't
can
pull
do,
down tighter than that.
you can kind of run things in your area. Every time I run an ad that's looking for people outside of my preferred area, I'll always make sure that my area is also targeted, but you can drop multiple pin drops. So just as an example, and again, Betsy, your coach, will be able to work with you directly to help you with this a little bit better. But for my Florida agents, let's say, I know right now New York is facing a mass migration where people seem to be moving from New York into Florida for tax purposes more than anything.
So I could set up like the ad to have the picture of Breckenridge, but like our top 3 markets are Denver, Minneapolis, and Chicago.
Totally.
100%.
So run them in Denver, Minneapolis, and Chicago, but with a picture of Breckenridge.
Well, you can run all sorts of different ads, and you can drop pins all over the place that you want. Again, where in Florida right now, we're getting people to say, "Hey, beautiful Florida homes under X amount of dollars," running in the Florida market, but then also dropping pins in different parts of, say, New York and New Jersey, expecting people trying
It
to.
might be a little bit different for the seller than the buyer. Like that multiple pin drop seems to be more advantageous for a buyer campaign than it would be a seller campaign. But again, we can work together and just test. Like ultimately, the only way to do it is test and see, based on the first 24 hours, if that's working or not. Because if you start throwing into multiple, like Denver, Minneapolis, all these, it's like, well, how many of those actually are homeowners? And what's the chances of you finding it in just like this massive city, right? So that's what we'll work on together for sure.
Thank you.
Good question though. Any other questions? Let me give you just a quick overview of what kind of to look at with StreetText, because we have lots of different training. Like you're at this one, but it doesn't stop with this training. We have a mastermind every Wednesday. That's the meeting I would suggest everybody at least try to come to once. If you're, before you make an evaluation of StreetText, you want to come to this meeting, because this is really where you get to be with, you know, on average, we have 60 to 70 people show up from the community. And these are people that are actively using StreetText, in some cases have for years. These are people, and many of them have done double-digit transactions. We have one gal that's done triple-digit with StreetText at this point in her 4 years. So you want to be there so you can learn what they're doing, what the integrations they have, the scripts they're using, the strategies, their mailers, all that good stuff. We talk about that on the mastermind. We have a lead conversion workshop. We have a workshop where all we do is review your ads and help you get better results. Even a custom ads class that we have with Logan, where you can go and customize ads outside the realms of the funnels that we have. And then we do have a Facebook group that we'd like to invite you into. It's called the StreetText Insider Group. And that has, I think, 2,500 people at this point. Best group you can be into right away to just start finding resources. We have a free course called the StreetText Academy as well. But you connect with your coach on Facebook and we'll invite you into that group. This course is going to show you how to set up everything from your ads to your email signature to embedding video, you know, so that everybody that gets in there gets a chance to meet you. We have fun scripts. You know, there's a script in there that got a gal 5 listing appointments in her first week. So just stuff like that. We'll work with you on getting you this information so you can really have a great time making this experience the one that you'd like for these leads to have of you. Cool. Oh, obviously you probably want to know pricing. So beyond the trial, obviously the trial is free. So feel free to run as many ads as you want in this trial. And by the way, even if you don't move beyond this trial, you have access to everything forever. Our classes, our coaching, our training, our StreetText group on Facebook, this academy, all of that is for you, because a lot of it comes down to your timing. So we don't want to just say, hey, you need to figure this out in 7 days. But if you do decide that StreetText is a fit for you, you just scroll down to the bottom of your dashboard and click ready to sign up. And there's 3 options that you could work with us at. The first option is 12 months up front. That's 1,920, so 1,920. And that locks you in for a monthly renewal rate of 160. Okay. 6 months up front is 1,020, renews 170 month to month. And then if you want to try us out, you know, I call it a mini trial, is 90 days up front for $600. That's 3 months up front, and you would renew month to month at 200. That also includes everything that we talked about. And we do have a course that I was telling you about, the gal that did triple-digit transaction. Her name is Donna. She's out of Fort Worth, Texas. We did build a course with her, and that comes with our year membership. Right now for Black Friday, we're giving it away for anybody that starts with 6 months. So that's another great course. It's a $250 value otherwise, but it shows you what she's done to create her success with StreetText. Other than that, I mean, your best thing to do is just sample everything out, trial it out, have fun, and, you know, reach out with your coach. It is complimentary, and, you know, make sure it's a fit for you, because there's a lot of moving pieces in this. It's not just lead generation. There's a lot. And I think once you join our community and you see our Facebook group, you'll realize why it's so valuable, because there's so many resources in there, you know, from using BombBomb to HomeBot to follow-up boss for people, or whatever your system is that you already have, how to integrate either through email parsing or Zapier. There's a lot of different cool things that we can do, but, you know, let's take it one bite at a time. And it is an elephant. You got to think of it as an elephant. We got to eat it one bite at a time. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, your trial is just like a small glimpse to what's even possible. And then the biggest fruit of the top of the funnel is always long-term, which is why we incentivize the year. No one's going to get like this figured out in the next week. Even 90 days is too short. And what oftentimes I find, if anybody starts with 90 days, I've found so many people who actually don't move forward after the 9 days. They come back because they start vetting all those leads they've acquired. And 6 months down the line, they can see, you know, 60% of those went with another agent, and they're buying them. They're like, what did I do wrong? Well, you didn't nurture them properly. You didn't initiate the relationship. So they end up going with somebody else. And that's what happens with the top of funnel. Because if you don't have a nurturing system in place, they're ready to list when they're ready to list. You just got to initiate the relationship first. So remember, when just because someone wants to know what their home's worth today, doesn't mean they're ready to sell today. But it's your job to create an opportunity to connect with them. And even better, if you can get into their home, to give them an in-depth market analysis, and always offer that as, hey, even if you're ready to sell, anytime and you want to stay here forever, I want to be a resource for you. I want to be somebody you can trust and rely on, and this is the greatest asset of your life. I want to give you continued updates on your home's values and homes that are selling near you. When we get you that's the type of information you want to be able to provide for these people. Any questions?
I have a question, Marcus.
Yes.
I'm from Toronto, so we have a lot of sales over here. Our area, I'm specifically belong to the Milton area, but the only issue is that I'm just your new customer. The reason is I signed up like 3 days ago, and I already get a leads, but honestly, I don't know your system, so I didn't touch even those leads, and I didn't touch anything. For a new people, like, do you have a specifically training for them how to
100%.
use the system?
Yeah, you're gonna meet with your coach, Suresh,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna walk you baby steps through everything. So number one, it can get very complicated and overwhelming right away, especially if you're newer. Just meet with your coach. We'll break it down into StreetText for dummies, and we'll give you the easiest breakdown of what we've seen in the last 5 years that we know creates conversation. Because at the end of the day, you're just looking to have a conversation with these people. If you can get them to even dialogue with you, you're in the door.
How do I
right?
know who is my coach?
Well, we can look that up, but do you just text whoever you've got communication from last?
I just texted back to them because when I was listening to you, so I text them.
Okay, and they'll be in touch with you, and we'll take a look at your account. We'll make sure someone reaches out to you as well.
Probably Ira then. And the other thing to do is once you do get that connection with your coach, we can send you a friend request, or you can send us a friend request on Facebook, of course. And as Marcus already alluded to, we can add you guys into the private insiders group. And that is absolutely the best and fastest way to get up to speed as to what else is going on, because you can listen to your coach, you can listen to Marcus, you can listen to myself, but who better to listen to than other people currently using StreetText?
100%.
Really. And it's such a collaborative group of people who want to share what's working for them. We don't mind if people share, we don't like frustrations necessarily, but I mean, if somebody's frustrated, we want to make sure that things are taken care of. So everything gets handled in this group. It's been a great resource for many people. So do make sure that you take advantage of that.
Yeah, this is the best. I mean, you get everything broken down into really, like, all of our announcement sections, by the way, show you our top material right now and what people are posting. Like, here's one of my favorite right now. This is gal Katrina Higgins that actually walks you through a 9-step process of how she's got double-digit transactions. And you just, don't reinvent the wheel. Just make it your own.
Wow.
Figure out what people are doing that have been successful in this group, and just duplicate it, but make it your own with your own personality. And that's the key. So we'll walk you through a lot of that in this group once we get you. I would say reach out to your coach, make sure you're connected on Facebook, like literally as friends, like real friends, Facebook friends. And, we'll actually add you into this group. That's the way to do it.
I will. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All
right. Yeah, go ahead, John.
I got a lead this morning, and I did send him an email, and I'm not meeting with my coach until Monday. So is there anything else I should do? I mean, it seems like I don't quite understand it. It looks like there's like 3 different steps that you can that the client can get to in parts of the process. I just got his email. I didn't get a phone number or anything else. So I reached out to him by email, but I didn't know if I should. I mean, there's nothing else I can do at this point. So.
Well, I mean, I would look into this free trial with BombBomb and send him a video introducing yourself, and just being like, what's his name, John? Duke. Hey, Duke, John here. Just want to introduce myself. I'm actually working on your home value. In the meantime, if there's anything that you could tell me about your home, what do you love most about it? What are your favorite features? Are you actually wanting to sell this, or is this something you're just curious about? I'm here to help. Just give me 24 hours and I'll get back to you, right? Something simple.
That's good.
And, because they get a chance to connect with you there. And, but again, we'll walk you through some of our favorite scripts and strategies for that. But video is king. Video is king. I'll tell you that for sure.
Okay, I just want to say one other thing. I interviewed another company doing a similar thing a few days ago, and you guys are really cheap compared to them, and I think you're much better.
We prefer affordable, John, but
They need to say that. They really didn't.
it's always good to hear. And, one of the things that we try to do again is we treat our company very much the way we did when we all sold real estate still, in that it's like offering a free home valuation. We want to give you guys all the information we could possibly have, with the thought being, why would you want to continue learning elsewhere? Right? That's kind of what we try to do. So it's always nice to hear that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
Just
right.
one more question about Facebook, the cost. I know we pay that separately, but when we doing the 9 a day, does Facebook take the money 9 a day, or I'm confused about do they do, I don't know when you pay it.
The
My
way,
question
the way
is,
that it works is, if you've got it set at $9 a day, that's not a guarantee that you're going to pay that amount. It's a maximum amount for that ad, saying, so you're only going to pay per click. So if you get your ad tested and Facebook decides you're at $1 CPC, $1 cost per click, then you've limited your daily budget to $9 a day. Well, all that means is you're capped to, say, 9 clicks. Once you've got 9 clicks in a day, you now owe $9. Facebook pauses that ad until tomorrow, when they would open it up with a fresh budget available again. If you only got 1 click that day, you only pay $1. You pay per click up to that maximum allowable amount. And then, yes, when it comes to the way that you're charged, we don't touch your ad spend whatsoever. Your Facebook account is completely in control there. So you have a credit card on file with Facebook. And then as soon as you owe money, Facebook will start charging you. If you want to research billing threshold, that may answer your question a little bit further. All that means is, depending on the health of your ad account, the amount of time you've been doing this, Facebook will start charging you at different amounts. If you're brand new and you've never run a Facebook ad, Facebook will allow you to spend upwards of like $2. Then they'll charge your card just to make sure that you're able to pay that amount, and then they'll open you up to, say, $50, then $150 in terms of a threshold, until they bill you. But it's different per ad account, per person. So again, really important you meet with your coach, and we'll be able to break all that down individually with you once we see your ad account.
Yes. And as far as getting a hold of your coach, just text the last person who texted you, and we'll set up a time to meet with you. Cool. Find him on Facebook, even better, because I like to use Facebook Messenger. Logan's now, I'm making him get a little bit better at it, and Ira does as well. And it just it feels more personal, honestly. Like,
I'm a text guy. Go ahead and text me.
So yeah, in this way we can get you into the group as well, and get you to meet the community. So thanks again, guys. Have a great weekend. If you want your ad set up properly today with the split test, definitely reach out to your coach. We'll set those up for you. And then ideally, we like to meet with you 24 to 48 hours later after the ads have been set up, so we can review your ads and help you with the conversion side of this. Sound good? Thanks. Have a great day.